First, let's look backwards. And what I did for this year, I really wanted to have more work-life balance. So I decided to expand from using just a cousin to using a cousin and a weeks. The experiment was very successful. I really liked it, and it worked for me. Now I'm going to go back to using just the cousin for next year, but I thought I'd share what this looked like using both planners. And the challenge I had was just having any separation between work and life was impossible because it was so mixed up in my head, and then it was so mixed up in my planner that all of my writing just became work writing. Like the whole thing was just a work notebook, whereas this time the whole thing was just a life notebook, which I really liked. So what I did was had appointments and billings and just different work things in the weeks. I would have a list of calls, then a list of promises or deadlines, and then I tried to have a list of observations in my to-do list on the other side. It was very much just ink focused for a long time. I started to add stickers about halfway through, and that was really fun as well. So I gotta say, using the stickers and getting creative about that was a part of the fun, for sure. And it also made it easier if I was gonna go and work to just grab my weeks instead of grabbing everything. I stuck with this layout really consistently. It just worked for me. Smile, you're a goose watcher. I got to use a lot of different inks and different pens. And I think I'll hold on to this just to have a cool glimpse at what my work life was like in 2024. I also let my kids draw in it. No real impressive spreads or anything. I just had fun with it. I didn't make it perfect. And there's a lot of paper right here. I'm probably going to cut this out so I have like some note paper. And then I had this and a blotter that I'd carry with me. So that's the weeks. We're going to retire it. It's wild. It was a really good time. The main notebook, let me move this stack through this. The main notebook I used was this A5 portfolio from Galen Leather. They do have an extended one now that's going to zip up much easier with a full-size notebook, but this worked just fine with me. And so here are the stickers from this year. A lot of them I got, on site. Maybe I was at a museum or something. A lot of them were sent to me or shared. This one I just found from finishing the Alt MBA this year. Love it. And so in the front, I would collect some memorabilia. The Yuseka stamp from going up there, some drawings from my kids. Damien is my preferred nibsmith, so I have his sticker all over. I'll have to block that out. But this was just a fun check. My son got hold of the checkbook and just wrote cat on it. I just love that. And the first thing you might notice is this is actually a 2023. I bought 10 of these before there was a rush on the market from eBay. And I'm just redating these, and it really wasn't difficult. So what happened was you just need to blot out the numbers for the month and the week, and then you blot out the name of the date on the daily pages, and then it was simple. So it took just a couple minutes per month, and I get this wonderful paper out of it. So let's start at the very beginning. One thing I like to do is go through the planner, and in the new year, I'll go through the old planner and write lessons that I learned in the front that I want to keep top of mind for this year. So this was cool. So some thoughts from last year that I learned from 2023 that I brought into this year was to make room for unforeseen possibilities, be present to life. This is the slogan of a Enneagram coach I really like. What would it be like if I only put half of myself into each workday? This was a huge piece of this year of pacing my energy and then pacing what I give to things. Because I realized, part of, as my Enneagram type, the thing I do is just give it all the time. And then I'm surprised I'm burnt out. So that's something I worked on. Producing isn't living. And then maybe a theme of my work was make what comes naturally to me more accessible to them. And so, as you can see, I was doing so much in the weeks that I didn't really keep up with this one. So I have some sketches of pens here that were fun. And then I just tried to doodle some. But I really, I didn't do a lot in this because I was tracking stuff in the other one. And that's why I'm bringing it all back together, because I have more of a separation internally, and I don't think it'll be a problem to separate it in the page now. This was fun. I saw this on Reddit, and I just drew what somebody else drew with this really thick Oto pen. I thought I might be able to find it, but I can't. Yep, I bet it got sucked away somewhere. Started to experiment with I drew some magic beans. And then again, I didn't really keep up with the weeks view, because that's just something that I did in my weeks planner. I kind of kept up with week to week. But I did use this for like testing pens or just doodling. Whenever I would go out, if I wanted to sketch or paint people, I would include that here too. Any memories, any testing out different inks with different combinations, a little bit of watercolor, some different journaling things, moving kind of quickly through these little restaurants and snips of paper. So as you can see, there's a lot of space in here, and that's why I'm not going to add the weeks. I was worried about being able to get the right paper in the weeks, because I'm sure they've made that transition by now. And then I just realized there's still a lot of room in here that I could have had stuff going on. You can see towards the end of the year, I started to play more with the weeks layout, but still not really. A little sketch of my most frequently worn clothing. This is literally all I wear year round. And then I started to do a little bit for Christmas. And then I really, I bought a little sticker pack, so I really got into it for the past 2 weeks. And this was so fun. This is something I want to keep doing, which is just making a memory book out of that side. So then we got to the daily pages, and I think this is the first year that I truly filled every page. Like I did it every day. And what made the change for me is probably 2 things. One, doing it really slowly. My first years from 2021, 2022, I just did it when I could. They're not full, and they're not artsy, and they're not pretty to look at, but I was just doing it. And I think that's a big part of things. And the second thing was to realize the Hobonichi motto really is like the only day this version of yourself is going to be here is today. So that idea that even if what you capture isn't perfect, fun, or pretty, that's the only mark that you can make. So it's like, why not make a mark? And this is our way of having, cave drawings of what our life was like, just to see a little scratch from each day. And that really took the pressure off. Over time, it just became a lot more fun, because you can look back on it and say like, wow, I made that. Like that looks beautiful all done, but it was really slow how it went. Like I just first drew a layer of watercolor, and then I just added a little pattern over time. So I think making time for it, I'm sure, is the hardest part, but this just became so pleasurable to me that it was not a problem. I just enjoy holding my pens and looking at them and doing all this stuff. And it's interesting, I found my favorite combination really is like a brush pen and my Acroball 1000, not even fountain pens. So I might be returning to that more often this year, is to just use fountain pens in my other writing. Of course, it's fun to use fountain pens. So you can see some of these are just, gunky, and then some of them have actual art or actual attempts to make it beautiful. And I just didn't put pressure on myself. I'm going a little fast so you can see like how things change from day to day. It's really not, the beautiful art that you might see from other people, but I'm really proud of how my skills developed over time and the way I played with color. Did start using stickers a bit more. Started trying to make like a theme where 2 pages in a row might have the same colors. You can see these. It's a rainy theme. I really loved pink. I'll also talk about the pens that I leaned on most. Oh, that's so nice. And I always tried to write what pen I was using. I didn't write it here, but I think this was a TWSBI 1.1 step with Yamabudo. Tried to draw my cat a lot. Always looked like the Grinch. I don't know why. And another thing that I did this year was to intentionally leave bad things out of this planner, which I really struggled with. Oh, here's a bunch of pinks that I tried. My favorite was Kozumozu from Iroshizuku. But I really want to have like honest places to write, but I really struggle with that because I take this do a lot of places, and I let people look at it, and I'd really like to be able to do that. So I made this compromise with myself that maybe the darker or the more frustrating stuff, like problems that I'm trying to deal with, more often than not goes in this other planner that I'm going to share. And then this one, it really more was about like documenting, neutral challenges, like not judgmental challenges that I'm having, or just art, or like documenting what I was going through. And that was an okay compromise for me. Like, I wish I could just not care who sees what, but at the end of the day, I do. So, there we are. A big favorite over the year was Troublemaker's Milky Ocean. It's this beautiful blue. It's like writing with rain. I think more watercolor could be fun, but the challenge of watercolor is you have to plan in advance a bit more because you have to let it dry. So often when I realized I wanted to do watercolor, it was when I was also writing at the time. So it just made it more difficult. And here's just a cool example. So May 24th, we got baby chicks and had them in the closet for about a week with this cute little heater. And I couldn't tell you when that happened or what it was like. I just remember doing it this year. So having it here and documented, I can't tell you what that means to me. Here's a trip I took to DC. My friend Alyssa, trip to the beach. It's really memorable. And I can share these memories with the kids too, and just help them see how I saw like these different experiences we had. And I'd say maybe there's only like 10 pages that I'm like really proud of and I'd frame if I could, and the rest of it was just fun, just expressing stuff. So if you feel this pressure to make everything perfect all the time, I just encourage you to not. All right, we're about halfway through. Looks pretty cool. And then I'll share some of my favorite pens throughout this whole experience. Another place I could see improvement that I'd like for this next year is with headers. Using a bigger, bolder pen or different coordinated inks to have headers. I do draw headers, but it's not consistent. And I used to wish I was more consistent, but I think what you're seeing here is way more me. This definitely represents me more than like a perfect thing would. Oh, and this is when I found my favorite book this year, recommended by my friend Strawberry, the Murderbot series. And this is when I got my favorite new pen from Stylus Suite. This is when I launched a fun course I did on art on Slack, in Yoseka. It's just like reliving the best parts of my year. I just love that. I really love this combo. So this is Deep Dark Orange with Massachusetts 45 or something. And then this blue. Oh, and these stickers. Perfect. More inks as they came in. Olivine ended up being a huge favorite for me. And trying out new inks is so fun because, at least for me, I really can't tell what's going to be a favorite till I get it. Even from the swatches, it'll seem like I should like something, but then I don't. And this was fun. There was I think on Reddit, again, I get a lot of inspiration from there, but somebody had just inked this really cool image, so I tried to draw it as well with that Oto pen that I talked about. And it just looks so bold, it looks like a stamp. I thought that was really cool. Here's more of the little stamp things that I tried. And then drawing the stickers that I get turned into really good drawing practice as well. This is one of my favorite spreads too. So this is crayon, and then colored pencil, and then fountain pen ink. And each page just builds as it goes. Like I might start with that, like things are always working out for me. And then maybe I draw a skull, and then I add a couple blocks, and then I realize I want to draw a person who's standing around, and then I see another person, and a baby crawling around. It just, it looks more polished when it's done, but it just gets built really slowly. And this was a period where I started calling friends because I didn't feel up for seeing anyone, but it really brightened my day to have these conversations. So I think that was cool too. This is one of just my favorite stamps ever, or stickers. I'm so glad I got this pack. My kids started drawing Smurtle the Dirty Turtle. So they had a turtle off where they both drew it a couple times. Getting towards the end. This is another favorite. I just love the brown paper looking stuff and the soot sprites. And I started to let the sticker packs decide kind of a theme. That was cool too. one towards the end. That's a good one. I invented this cool dish. It's just beef with noodles, but it was awesome to get to make it at home. And then this was just one of my favorite things too. This most random thing that just came together. Kind of looks like a Milky Way of flowers. All right, climbing right to the end. The last few pages of 2024. Boom, there it is. There wasn't much towards the end, just ink testing. It was a wild ride. So let me think about some pens that I really loved throughout this whole process. I'll move this. And so here were my most used. This is pretty much what my daily carry looked like. So I have two King of Pens. I would keep a pink in this one and a gray in this one. Deep dark orange for the white 1911 and Massachusetts for the blue 1911. This almost always had my special teal in it. And then this most recently has the cherry blossom. That's like a raspberry that I love. This is the one I carried with me in my belt bag at all times. This is just my go-to, and I would keep the Atramentis document black. I love it so much that I got a backup because I'm just worried I would lose it. So I got this tuned. It's the same except it's black down here. And I actually think I'm going to gift this to my brother because he fell in love with this pen, and he's just a great dude. So we'll see. I'm working my way up to that. I had this TWSBI 1.1 stub with, I think, Robert Oster Cafe Crema in it. Or Gold Antiqua. I don't know why I don't know the difference. This is like a custom italic. This is a stub as well. And then this is just newly inked up with Noodler's brown again. Then over here we've got my Toyuka box. This would be perhaps my winningest pen of the year once I got it at the fountain pen show in DC. I just never stopped. I don't have it inked right now because I'm taking a little break. I really love the 823. I traded this for a 743 FA nib. Best trade ever. This I just fixed up so it's working again, and that's extra fine in black. And then this is my Skogsy. I actually tried to sell this year, but nobody went for it, so I'm just going to hold on to it. It's my only regular bold nib, so I'm going to play with that for a bit. Then up here, this is my other absolute favorite. Right now it's inked with Birmingham Pen Company Tesla coil, and it's a very, very fine flex. So there's just so much control. It's a really tight one to write with. Then this is a 743 and an M that I got. I just wanted to have an extra one around. And then I've got two Sailors, both with really thick zoom nibs. One in like a Naginata something, and then the other, I forget what it is, but it's the same thing. Where if you hold it at one angle, it's extremely thick, and then the other angle, it's extremely thin. And that's been really fun. Other pens I've got laying around, just so I have a full collection to show you. We've got a matching one to the rose gold white. We got the rose gold smoke, and this one has Sailor Sea Glass in it. I was actually really disappointed with that ink. I'm probably going to trade that with somebody. This pen I keep thinking I'm going to sell, but I just adore it, so it's staying. This is the Benyu Euphoria Matcha Latte, and I keep Sailor Raikucha in it. These three are empty right now, I think. This might have black in it, but these are Himalaya Fountain Pen Revolution flex nibs. Just kind of a cheaper flex nib, and then this is just my very first fountain pen. I love it. It's one of my favorites still. Perfect. So that catches me up on pens and what happened this year. There were just a couple other things I did this year that are worth noting. So this is kind of like a Techo Kaigi where you catch up on all the stuff that I used. This is used this year. So as you know, I also kept a travel drawing thing of box spreads. I would just take this with me like a wallet and just draw wherever I went. I love it. I'm trying to finish it. It's unlikely I'm truly going to finish it, literally by the end of the year, but I will finish it in the next week or so and then get a new one to start. Oh, and this is another new one favorite for this year. I think this was my birthday pen this year, and absolute favorite. Then I also had a blank notebook that I used for business development. This is just where I tackled some tough stuff that I was thinking about and dealing with. Usually had some kind of illustration to go along with it as well. A lot of this would be like prompts, specific prompts from my coach or just from observations, as well as, so this way it had some prompts, and then if you turn it around, it had a different program I was doing as well. where I wrote about, the things that we were processing. And then this is the other thing that I tried for this year, which was more like the personal journal. And this is where I just put everything that I was dealing with that was maybe a bit more long form. It's like what's going on with life. You can see often it had some illustrations as well, or if I had some writing that I was putting out on smaller, what am I talking about? So like if I drew something pretty, I might tape it in there. I also tried to draw the cat a lot. And it's very satisfying just to have this longer form thing that I can bring with me when I wanted to go more in depth. And I made it maybe a third of the way through. So I bet this will be my 2025 journal as well. This is Cosmolite paper, and it's okay. It's really good in some ways, and then I did find myself hesitating to use it with certain pens. So if I have another 150 pages to go, another 200 pages to go, that might be tough for me to finish this one, but I do really want to finish it. So I'm going to do my best to do that. And that brings us up to this year. So once again, we have a 2023 one that I'm going to use. And we've already got dating started. So these are the lessons of 2024 that I want to bring into this year. I haven't gone through them all yet. I'm going to have, this is already a redated February. You can see I just did a little whiteout and then rewrote the dates. And then I've also gotten started with doing a weekly spread, which kind of lets me track maybe some different places we stopped for meals, the road trip back from Philly, what my plans are today, what my plans are towards the end of the week. And I'll do that just as long as it's fun. And then we can jump over here. I've already got it noted with the little Midori tabs. And we'll just do the same thing I did last year. So what happens is I use whiteout, and I white out the name of the day, and then I just rewrite what that name of the day is. And you can see it doesn't make a big visual effect. It's really quite a good match. So I'm very pleased with this. And then I get that great paper from previous years. I'm looking around, and I think that's all when it comes to what I'm using for journaling for 2025. And if you do a walkthrough, I'd love to see what you're working with as well. So that's all from me today. Happy New Year.